We, the body sovereign, hereby command you to resign within 3 days or else face the consequence. I am also here today to hand...
Marbury versus Madison overrides any of your decorum or your made-up rules.
This meeting is now adjourned. Sellers running for the hills. We the people
are being served.
We will vote in new officials.
It's a meeting.
Welcome back. Today we are looking at a unique case, a guru with some seriously troubling beliefs. In this video, I will show you an example of someone who believes every conspiracy out there. We will cover the different types or stages of going anti-science or anti-reality from mild to extreme. My goal is to show you how those gurus, once they have a following, start promoting all kinds of nonsense. All sovereign movements guru do this. As long as it serves their agenda, they will push it. I am not saying that this person or any person is stupid or a liar, but I want to show you how they go through all those stages until they get arrested or start hurting others with their beliefs, and you can decide for yourself, is it intentional or, as I said, they are just stupid. As always, in order to understand the person better, let's start with the background. Meet Mickey or Michelle Callan. According to her bio, she runs a golf software company and has worked in web design most of her life. It would seem like her life is stable, giving her time to dive deep into the rabbit hole of online lies. The stages to becoming mentally unhealthy. Stage 1. Become a Trump supporter.
Hey you guys, Mickey again, Scottsdale, Arizona. I just wanted to touch base again. Oh my gosh, so much is going on. Okay, I just want to give you some more comms from Trump. I'm going to give you 3.
Don't forget to make videos and tell us about Q drops and how Trump will save us all.
First one. All right, so you've heard a lot about Dominion. Dominion is the name of the company that produced the software called the Hammer. The Hammer is the framework, and the application interface is called the Scorecard. So you're going to hear those words interchange. Definitely, I recommend that you go do a dig on the Dominion company. Check out their shareholders, their board members. Definitely ties to Pelosi. Definitely ties to our good old friend George Soros. It also ties to the Clinton Foundation. Anyway, let's get talking about this. Okay, so there's this guy who was running the 8 Coon boards. His name is Ron Watkins. He's also known as Code Monkey Z on Twitter. Right when the election hit, Ron came out and said that he was no longer going to be administering 8kun. And we were all kind of like, oh man, what does that mean for the Q? Are we going to continue to get Q posts? What's going on? And in the meantime, it's been like quiet from the Q. It's been like 9 days and we haven't had a Q drop.
I am sure you all know this story, but just to make sure, QAnon followers, which are mostly Trump supporters, believe that posts or drop made on Reddit was originally from Trump. Trump tried to save them by warning them that things are going to change, the world is changing, and since then, QAnon looks for drops from different people. As you can see in this example, Mickey clearly understands that there is a specific account of some old guy that pretends to be Q, and yet she doesn't understand anyone can make an account and write posts, try to guide those lost souls that try to vote for Trump.
Came out today that Ron has been investigating and looking at this Dominion software. All right, so now I'm going to fast forward to, or actually I'm going to rewind back to a tweet that Trump made back when he had COVID. He tweeted out this. He said, "Going well, I think. Thank you to all. Love." What I really want you to do is take a close look at the word well. The first L almost looks taller than the second L. And that's because the first L isn't actually an L. It's a capital I. Now, the Anons picked this up and they kind of thought maybe this was a certain type of game, like a Trump card game, which it might have been. Double meanings exist. But Ron, our guy over our Code Monkey, picked up the fact that in the Dominion software, there was a exploit where what they were doing was they were taking the word Republican. So imagine you've got a variable and the variable name is party type. And it's either the text string Republican or Democrat. What they did, this is not a bug. This is not an accident. This is definitely on purpose. That's why they call this an exploit. This is not a glitch. No people. This is an exploit and intention. They took the word Republican and instead of an L, they replaced the L with a capital I. Then later on in the code base, there's a loop that basically says if it matches Republican or Democrat, process this vote. Well, it wasn't matching Republican because it was actually changed to Republican. Therefore, on many of the machines, don't know which ones were running this exploit, but that means that in theory, many of the machines were not even processing Republican votes. What? What? That means they were only processing Democrat votes, which would have left lots of open space for fake ballots.
Hey lady, let's pretend for a second that you are right and the software was crazy, but none of the ballots say if it's a vote of a Republican or a Democrat. So you're just batshit crazy. Do you want to tell us which other cults of Q do you follow?
Like I said, some of my favorite QAnons, really fun people to watch. Red Pill 78, our Dr. D on YouTube. I'm a big fan of Santa Surfing on YouTube. Love and We Know, AWK on YouTube. Love X22report.com. Just so much cool information coming in, you guys. I love you so much. We won. Just keep your chin up. Continue to show your support for Trump.
She has too much free time, as I said. Second stage, become an expert in vaccines, in diseases, in health in general, and go to all podcasts that you can and explain to us why are you smarter than the people that actually studied it.
It's just, there's so many lies. And I know so many people that are voting for Biden today because they're completely brainwashed by the mainstream media and serial killers like Fauci, who is the one that basically intentionally killed hundreds of thousands of gay people under the guise of AIDS, which was a complete hoax. So today I just figured I'm annoyed with Fauci, so I'm just going to make this video and share what I've researched on this guy. So just so you know, the PCR test that they used to check for COVID is the same PCR test that they used to check for HIV. No scientist ever proved under any circumstance or under any doubt that HIV converts to AIDS. AIDS originally was a known disease. It had been around for 50 years before they relabeled it AIDS. It was a disease wherein someone dies from malnutrition or extreme compromised immune system from doing things like street drugs or poppers, right?
Oh my god, lady, what big of an ego you need to have to make such a bold claims, to say that you're smarter than anyone around you.
So you have all these people coming, these gay men who were doing poppers on the streets, who were dying unexpectedly, right? But it wasn't unexpected. They were doing drugs. So they came up with this name HIV. They used these PCR tests, which actually test for your own exosome. The PCR test just shows that your body is shedding what's called exosomes from your own cells. No one has ever been able to take exosomes, isolate them, inject them in another human being in order to create any form of symptom. How do I know for a fact that AIDS was a complete hoax? There's this guy who wrote a book and he traveled the US, and in every single one of his conferences, it was called something like The Deadly Deception. I'll get the book name and I'll link it below. But he pretty much asked an AIDS victim to step up in every single one of his conferences. He drew blood from these victims and he injected it in himself. He did this hundreds and hundreds of times and he still never got AIDS, okay?
Hey, Mickey, by the way, the guy was a doctor, but not a scientist. If he were a scientist, he would use the scientific method and he will know that injecting yourself with something isn't a scientific research. This is why his license was also revoked for using unconventional treatments. Not claiming that I'm an expert or I understand better than you, but you clearly haven't read the book or checked anything else besides one person's research.
So what was actually killing the people who were diagnosed with HIV was the medications that they were putting them on. And who directed all this medication? Who directed all this research? Fauci. Fauci has killed more people than Jeffrey Dahmer and every other serial killer that you can even think of.
Anything else you know nothing about and you want to share with us your opinions?
Fauci. I'm going to put links below. AIDS was a complete hoax. I believe polio was a complete hoax. They had figured out how to cure polio 10 years before a vaccine ever came out. No one in Vietnam ever even had polio until Gates came in with his vaccine. It's a hoax. It's all a bunch of fake science. Even my son in 7th grade is getting completely indoctrinated right now through the public school system about infectious disease. And it's all a bunch of lies. I just want to pull them out of school because they're just sitting there lying to him. And I guarantee you this wasn't even on the curriculum last year. And I do believe, by the way, that Fauci's working for Trump. I
On the one hand, you hate Fauci. On the other hand, you say Fauci works with Trump. So can you decide?
believe that Trump knew the coronavirus. I heard that Gates sang like a canary in 2017. Trump used the coronavirus to put us in a national state of emergency so that he could complete all of what he wanted to do with respect to cleaning up the Senate. And he wrote a bunch of executive orders to decentralize the food and meat packing industry. And it was just brilliant. I mean, it was absolutely brilliant. And most of the world has woken up now. He's created world peace, unbeknownst to so many who watch the mainstream media.
And after doing so, you can even go and start claiming with your pseudo-legal advice that all the mask mandates were lifted thanks to you.
And at the time, we were really upset that our children were masked at the public schools. In 2022, we started a project called Bonds for the Win. And so I called up my girlfriend, Anne LaFleur, who's amazing. And she pretty much came back to me and she said, these people are licensed, bonded, and insured, which means they have an oath of office. They have a bond, which is surety to we the people that they're going to perform their duties and responsibilities. And they're also insured, meaning they have a liability policy. And these people are practicing medicine without a license. So what we did was we put it to the test. We went and we got 3 wins. We pulled the bonds and the liability policies by sending in a FOIA request. I laid all this paperwork on their table. I said, if you don't, and this is basically a letter of intent, if you don't back down on these mask policies right now, I'm going to file a claim against your surety bond. And sure enough, 7 days later, they did it in the fine print. They removed the mask mandate. And they said to everyone, now masks are voluntary. So out of nowhere in 3 months, because all these parents stood up en masse and did it, we liberated 50 million children in just 3 months.
Yeah, of course. Not any other reason. It is just thanks to her, and the whole world even called her to get advice how to do it.
And then it didn't stop there. It didn't stop there. Next thing you know, Canada was calling me. Europe was calling me. All these different countries, we were assisting them. Next thing you know, they released mask mandates worldwide. Then it was the private schools. Then it was the colleges. Then it was the airlines. Then it was the department stores. There's no more masks, guys. Do you remember how hardcore they were? It's a big deal. For them, moves and counter moves. Them to take a piece off that board was us winning.
The whole world is now calling you for advice? You are ready to stage 3, become a sovereign citizen. After your amazing success, start going on podcasts and teach other people the real law and what they don't know, since you are now the smartest person alive.
Okay, so we've actually been participating in an illusion. And so law stands for land, air, water. So you've got law of the land, which is common law. Okay, that's trial by peers. That's accountability. Guess what? We don't have a single common law court in our country. They've all been moved out because we were invaded in 1871. And I'm going to show you why and how in 1 second. But the second type of law is trust law, air. It's the law of commerce. And in trust law, you're operating in the private, okay? And all the Rothschilds and all of them know all about operating in the private, except for that's a type of law that had been kept from us. So common law had been kept from us, trust law had been kept from us. And then thirdly, you have maritime or water. So maritime, admiralty, corporate law, political law, those are all in the same category, and they're all law of corporations. So the thing about corporations is if you create the corporation, you control the bylaws of the corporation. I don't have a vote for Walmart or any other corporation for that matter, and I have a choice of who I want to contract with when it comes to business. So if I want to shop at Walmart, I shop at Walmart. If I want to contract, I contract. Okay. So a corporation can only do business with another corporation when it comes to business and contract law, which means that they had to turn us into corporations in order to contract with us within these courts.
Make sure to build a cult of followers using Telegram and some lies and stories you know nothing about, but act as they are all true. Also, you will need people to be your support when you start acting.
And so there are people out there trying to teach this. They're trying to get this message out
But because the deep state knows that we're trying to restore our republics, they keep trying to infiltrate. So, there's been some egos and a lot of this information has been kept from us. So we don't know the specific, how to set up official grand juries in each state, and how to set up official Article 3 common law court, and how to set up petit juries in each county. Okay, but that's what we're trying to figure out right now. That's what's going on in the front line.
Oh, so what you're saying is you don't have a clue how to do it, you have zero proof for it, but you teach it anyway.
All right. So unfortunately, every lawyer that has signed an oath to the Bar Association, the British Accreditation Registry, are essentially men in black working for the Crown, working for the British, and they may or may not know it. But because of all the corporate law that they're pushing, they are essentially representing this mafia. Let's just put it like that. The judges are all wearing black. They have never, the entire time, have never had jurisdiction over you. And because of the way that they've been operating in fraud and not through the consent of the individuals that they're contracting with, every single ruling you've ever watched in any court ever since 1871 is null and void. Another thing that's starting to come out and starting to release and drip through mainstream media is that Trump has been able to avoid many, many lawsuits, because what he generally does is he'll give them a conditional agreement. He'll say, sure, I'll contract with you if you can prove that you have jurisdiction over me. And they cannot prove jurisdiction. So that's why he's been able to completely avoid multiple lawsuits. There is no law and order whatsoever right now, because you're dealing with pirates. It's like you got on their ship, they handed you a sword and said, go for it. In the meantime, down below, we're going to bet on you and we're going to see how well you fend yourself. Oh, and by the way, we're going to make you walk the plank at the end. That's what's happened. They docked their ship. They forced us into maritime law. They forced us into contracting with them. They bullied us. They came through with CPS. They stole our children. They conned us into signing contracts with them. We basically handed over our children at birth by signing the birth certificate over to the state. They claimed them dead on arrival. They put them in probate because we never claimed them. We never registered them properly. And so then they moved our birth certificate. They created bonds in our name under our birth certificate and in our social security card. And then they basically traded us on the open market as commodities, which means we've been trafficked ever since we were born.
I tried a few times to ask sovereign citizens, where is the magic stock market where you trade bonds of people? But sadly, I never got an answer, because they don't have an answer. They just have an imaginary reality inside their mind.
Ever since we were born, we've been trafficked. And you cannot hold the body as surety for a debt that the body does not owe. They were holding us as surety or collateral to the national corporation and to the state corporations. So while they're trading us on their markets and they're driving money and value out of us, we didn't even know it. When you signed your marriage certificate, you signed your property of your marriage over to the state, including the property of your children. And when you signed that birth certificate, you signed your children over to the Pope, and we didn't know better. Okay, we just did not know better. And when we signed a mortgage contract, we actually handed our property and our land over to the state.
But here's my issue with this. Lawyers won't touch this with a 10-foot pole.
Good. We don't want them to. They're all working for the Crown.
Exactly.
And they work for maritime, which means they can only represent you as a dead corporation. And you're not dead. You're living. That's why they call this a time of the dead rising Christ. So all the truthers out there, everyone out there who's got podcasts, anyone's listening today, this year is the year of disclosure with regard to common law, because that's where we have all of our power. That's where we're in the land of the living. We're in the law of the land. Now, when they took over our government in 1871, they took over the police, the precincts, the jails, the courts, but they also took over all of the CPS, the foster care. They took over the banks. They took over just everything. So it became an insurrection. It became like almost a cancer that grew. So you have 18,000 police precincts right now that are all de facto, but you can launch a de jure one right next door, serve the police, let them know they're working for the wrong people.
Wow.
Because here's the thing. And then you can move them over to the de jure by giving them that opportunity to cure. Sign an oath to we the people and we'll let you go. They kept all this trust information from us. They locked us out of all this information. They hid it all from Google. How are we even supposed to know, really?
Right.
How would we have known until we did this worldwide audit?
Stage 4. Open a website and start legal action. When you open your grief website, make sure copy-paste as much as you can from other survey gurus to make sure you will succeed. Always use the logo of a lion to show how serious you are about what you're doing, just like in the movie Wolf of Wall Street. Also, use slogans of sovereign citizens like "We the people," to sound like a good person that is here to help, and you're part of them. If you encounter any issues to bring more clients, you can always use a picture of Trump on a horse to bring some more nut job that will support you. Final step about the website: open documents page to show how good you know Sadr law, which is mainly from 1776, and show all common law files that you can. Now that you have official website, you can go to government officials and start rolling them for the money they owe you.
Right.
You know
And
what I'm
it's
saying?
not until really Trump took presidency that people started waking up and saying, oh, wait a minute here, something's wrong.
Yeah.
Then they started paying attention. So he was the great exposer.
He
Basically,
also put all countries in check. How did he do that? How did he do that? Did you watch how he got every country to capitulate?
yeah, well, he went and visited every country. I know that, but you might want to school me on this one.
He laid down all the facts we had on him. He laid down all the facts on all their horrible acts against humanity and said, you work for us now. You're coming on our board. You're going to make a deal now. And he
Correct.
got
Okay.
Saudi Arabia to capitulate. Then he went, the
He let them
Vatican.
know we had their
G7.
dirt.
What?
He let them know that we had everything on them, that we had their dirt.
He served them. He took
Wow.
offense.
Wow.
He put them in
Okay.
check. That's what we're going to do now. Worldwide, we're all
Hold
putting
on.
them in check. This is checkmate. You have to red pill, hard pill every person that's locked up in the system. And
Don't forget to make silly claims and scream like a crazy person while you do it.
Overrides any of your decorum or your made-up rules.
This meeting is now adjourned. Sellers running for the hills. We the people will have answers.
You are being served. 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 You will go to the other side of this board.
You are being served.
We will vote in new officials.
It shouldn't
Right
be
now,
like
Howard.
this. It shouldn't be hostile like this. It's only like this.
You are Howard. You will not sign this.
You are treasonous.
It's only like this because of you guys, because you're corrupt. It shouldn't be like this.
William.
Stay out here and do
William.
Do your job.
Sovereigns are ready to go ahead and hold meeting. Since they have vacated, we are ready to go ahead and sign in volunteers.
All right.
No, we don't. Out of necessity for the Republic of Arizona, it is our job. Then you are in direct violation. You are now committing an act of treason. This is my right to free speech, sir.
They're out. They're out. You've done your job. Second them. They're
12 signatures, which means each individual person is personally liable for over $21 million just from this paperwork. And guess what? We, the people, as body sovereign, we're really good at gathering signatures. So I'm
Yes,
sure
we
we can go
are.
gather another 30,000 if they'd like. Once they go into default and they don't respond to our opportunity to cure, which is to resign within minutes, they need to resign within 3 days. If they don't resign within 3 days, they will be personally served with a writ of quo warranto and an opportunity, again, to rebut any one of our claims, which I'm making right now. None of them have signed an oath of office. None of them are bonded to We the People. All of them are foreign invaders acting as government. They are not our government. Therefore, we will be serving them a writ of quo warranto with a waiver of tort, and if they still do not rebut, we'll be notifying the military, and they can be hauled off, to a military tribunal, and I think we all know the penalty for treason. Thank you.
Yes.
so right after I got done serving, I'm high as a kite. I mean, my adrenaline's so high. I'm like, I know, challenge the next county. You know what I mean? I challenge this city. I challenge the next county because that everyone's ready to do it, and so you just give them the right paperwork and the right tools and they'll be able to do it themselves. And everyone gets very creative. But here's the thing, through Bonds for the Win, we realized that none of these people had an official oath of office, as in they have never signed an oath to We the People. They've never signed an oath to the Republic. Instead, they were signing oaths to a corporation. And each of those corporations have a Dun and Bradstreet number. So if you want to look them up, you can. And when you're looking at an oath of office, you want to look at to see if there's any caps, either all caps anywhere. So if it's state of Arizona, all caps, that's the corporate corporation. That's a legal fiction. That means that these people sitting up in these podiums and in these positions have absolutely no authority over us. They're not our government. I know that's really hard to like accept and receive, but in 1871, what had happened is they created a civil war, and in the background, because Great Britain didn't want to lose the war against us. I mean, they didn't want to lose the war. They did not want us running a republic. So what they did was, behind the scenes, they ran everyone out of the republic. So you're talking governor, lieutenant governor, secretary of state, treasurer, House, and Senate. In 1871, they ran them all out. And when they came back 7 years later, they came back as corporations. The Bill of Rights was originally in the Magna Carta, and the Magna Carta basically states that we, the people, are the ones who make the laws, that government cannot make laws. They can't just go pass bills and force us to comply. Okay, that's not how this actually works. And that trust was worth $2 million. You can ask Alexa as soon as you were born, because what they did was when you went to the hospital, they decided to have you sign on that birth certificate. And they actually had only your mother signing it. So they decided that you were a bastard child, dead on arrival. And since you weren't ever claimed, they claimed you within 7 years. So they basically created your estate and they claimed your estate. And that's how they really ultimately were able to siphon all the world's wealth.
You could see that by this point, her brain is all scrambled up with nonsense and stuff she cannot even logically connect. And it keeps repeating on itself in every podcast she goes, just to market the grief. And of course, she doesn't need to do any more of trolling of the government, because right now she proved that she can do that. And now she can ask for money from people, send letters to the government and to advise them on different topics. So before moving to the next stage, let's see the last weirdest claim ever from a sovereign citizen about getting pulled by a cop.
So when a cop pulls you over, he's giving you a ticket. It's an affidavit of fiction. And we talked about that. Why is it an affidavit of fiction?
Oh, because it doesn't exist.
Because he works for a legal fiction. Because remember, he's been served.
It's an illusion.
He works for a corporation. He's not your public servant. He's not your peace officer from the Republic.
My ass.
Yeah. And he's trying to serve you as your corporate fiction, because he's got to get your driver's license, and that's got your all caps name, and your all caps name is the corporate fiction they created when you were born. So the all caps name is not you. Can a corporation run a red light? No. So they're charging the corporation.
So you're saying since the birth certificate of the capital letters, I've heard this before, you're being born under a corporation.
Well, you're normally.
I've heard everybody is like has a dollar amount of almost like, what is it, 60 million or 600 million each person or something that of value to the corporation. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, because they've been trading you, and every single time you ever did anything, they opened bonds in your name. So when you create an LLC, when you open a bank account, you start a business, you got a home loan, a student loan, all that, they were always opening bonds in your name, and they were trading you, because the more successful you were, the more taxes you were going to pay.
Oh my gosh.
So that's how they siphoned all the world's wealth.
And
when you died, they took all that money. As soon as you died, they had already claimed your estate. So they took all that money when you died. So taking people to war is extremely profitable to them. Killing people off is extremely profitable to them, because they've turned us into slaves. But you cannot hold the body as surety for a debt that the body does not owe. So every time they're doing that, they're trafficking you, which means we're all slaves in the same system. Wow. So the officer is giving you a ticket. Now that's an affidavit of fiction, because it's got a 30-day notice, right? And you have 30 days to go to a court, or else what happens? You're considered guilty. But what you don't know is they're going to open a trust in your name in that court, and they're going to put 3 bonds in it, a bid, a performance, and a payment. And they're making anywhere from $2 to $5 million per traffic violation. That's why they have a quota.
There are many more conspiracies and lies she and other gurus talk about. But let's go straight to the final stage. Stage 5. Becoming a flat earther and deny all science.
And if anyone out there hasn't looked at both theories yet, the flat earth and the round earth theories, Let me just ask one question. If the Earth is rotating around the sun like this, right, and every other planet's got its own rotation around the sun, then why are the planets always the same distance from us?
Oh.
And why are the planets doing these retrogrades that look like this, and they're always the same distance away? They would go dark. You wouldn't see Saturn for a while because it'd be going around the sun, right? While we're trailblazing through space, going around they would be all over the place. I want to do like a 3D model to just show people this is not what the stars would look like if we were moving. There's so many confessions coming forward too. People on their deathbed saying, "I was at NASA. We were deceiving you."
Of course, because NASA in Hebrew means to deceive.
Oh, does it?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Sure does. And this isn't the only document. I mean, I have a whole flat Earth file.
I keep coming back to it. Sorry, folks.
Yeah.
I never thought that I'd be a flat earther, but sorry.
But it's the truth. When
if it's the truth, it's the truth. You know, truth is starting to have such a clear frequency and resonance to me too, that like I can almost tell who's lying about what when I hear it, you know, which I think everyone's getting better at. We're getting tuned in.
I will be covering the rest of this flat debate in another video, which it deserves. So subscribe so you will not miss it. And let's get back to the point. All gurus use and abuse half-truths and half-lies to push their new business or product. They do it to scam more gullible people. I hope this gives you a deep dive into the guru conspiracy mindset and how they end up driving themselves crazy by shilling and talking nonsense all day. See you at the next one.